What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're here with some NFL DFS picks and lineup advice for tonight's single game showdown slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. Thursday Night Football, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers. In this video, we'll talk about low risk and high risk lineup construction tips for FanDuel and DraftKings, injuries and COVID designations that impact the slate, and then those general strategies to help get you to the top of those contest leaderboards. I'm Brian Jester, co founder here at Occupy Fantasy, single game $1 million winner. So let's jump into it. The first injury designation that you'll see when you open the lineup screen on DraftKings or FanDuel, or if you've read anything about this game, is Austin Eckler. You'll see he has the questionable tag. Let's bring him up here. Now, Eckler played most of the game last week, hurt his ankle later in the second half, didn't play the rest of the game. And a lot of the injury analysts, the doctors that we trust, initially classified it as a high ankle sprain, which if you've ever listened to our content, you know that we're very wary of running backs with high ankle sprains. And generally, if that happens, it's a tough turnaround time for a Thursday night game for a running back. However, head coach Brandon Staley said after the game that Eckler was fine, no major injury, just aggravated a previous injury, which he did. He was on the injury report earlier in the season with an ankle issue, so perhaps that's true. And he did get in a limited practice on Tuesday and Wednesday. And very early reports this morning indicated that Eckler would suit up and play. And then, right before we started recording this, and it's around 10:30 a.m. Eastern, we got some other national reporters saying that Eckler won't see his full workload tonight, feeling a little bit more soreness than expected, which obviously isn't a great sign as it's only 10 o'clock in the morning. It's still 8 hours before the game starts, 10 hours before the game starts. So we could see this trend even more doubtful throughout the course of the day. A high range of outcomes for Eckler tonight. So how do we handle him? I think, again, if we look at his pricing, right, just in general, on DraftKings, he's 10,200, the fourth most expensive player. Price as if he didn't have an injury, as if he was completely healthy. On FanDuel, 14K, third most expensive player. So we have Eckler, who's likely going to be limited in some capacity, but priced as he normally would be. So we have to see how ownership will affect this, right? Our ownership projections will change throughout the course of the day. If he ends up being like Dalvin Cook was, a couple of slates ago, and Dalvin was less than 30% owned on both sites, then it becomes a pretty good play. The one big difference between Dalvin and Eckler is going to be limited by his injury. Dalvin, with a shoulder injury, was cleared to play. The only issue with him was he had a high chance of re-injury, but he was going to be effective until if that point happened, if he got knocked out of the game. He was going to be his usual self until then. We can't say the same about Eckler. So, as of right now, leaning towards not playing Eckler a ton, if at all, given the news we have. But again, that's something we have to monitor throughout the day. So that was a long segment on Austin Eckler, but I think probably the most important piece of news for tonight's slate. If we keep scrolling, who else? Josh Gordon is on the COVID list. He's been playing a decent amount lately for the Chiefs, so that opens up some more snaps for their rotational receivers. And that's pretty much it. A couple of offensive linemen and defensive players on the COVID list, but nothing that impacts the slate. Keenan Allen will be back after missing last week's game with COVID. So let's start with low-risk contests, 50-50s, double-ups, head-to-heads. If you've been around before, you know we try to get in both quarterbacks, both running backs, but as we were just talking about Eckler, that he's not, by any definition, a low-risk play. Very high-risk play tonight, so we can't play him. Add in the fact that we have high-profile receivers and tight ends on both sides, right? Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. If we go the two running back, two quarterback approach, right, it makes it very difficult because we're leaving out some of these guys, and these guys can absolutely bury us in low-risk contests if they put up 15-plus points. So, like Monday night slate, but for a different reason, it's a very difficult low-risk slate, and we would recommend that you avoid it. Now, if you go this on FanDuel, it's the same exact thing, right? Mahomes, Herbert. I mean, I don't know why you would play Eckler in low risk at this point, but if you did, and then CEH, 1,500 per player, you literally can't do it. Leave out Eckler, that's just 7,750 per player. Now you're still fading all four of the top receiving options for both sides. Really tough. Really tough. So just avoid low risk contests tonight unless we get some kind of crazy news. And again, it's COVID's back, so it's very not that it never left, but COVID is running through teams this week. We could easily see more COVID designations throughout the course of today before tonight's game, and that could certainly impact the slate. So just keep your head on a swivel and watch the news. But unless we get something crazy, very difficult low risk slate. Now high risk contests. In a similar vein to Monday slate, the Rams and uh, the Cardinals, right? It was only 4 days ago. God. Similar to that slate, right? We had very concentrated offenses near the top and just one value play at the time of recording with Rondale Moore, and we expected him to be popular. Now tonight we have another likely popular value play in Byron Pringle, who's basically been the Chiefs' wide receiver too over the last month or so. And he's priced at just $2,600 on DraftKings. He'll be extremely popular. However, the difference between Monday's slate and this slate is that we don't necessarily have concentrated offenses. Sure, we have the balls being funneled to Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and sure, we have the balls being funneled to Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, but we have more players playing on offense, more players playing 10, 20, 30, 40% of the snaps, unlike those Cardinals and Rams offenses. Because if you look down here, right, okay, we have Darrell Williams, backup running back, who's been seeing some snaps lately and touches. If we look at his last couple of games when CH has been back, we're looking at 5+ touches per game. That's realistic. He can get to the optimal lineup on 5 touches. We have Pringle, Donald Parham, playing 30+% of the snaps, getting targets, actually talented. He's already won someone a bunch of money in Showdown early this year on a Chargers slate. He can easily get there. Palmer, going back to his 4th receiver role, but he'll see some snaps, right? Could certainly get in there. Justin Jackson is the most interesting one here. Just 2K. He'll be the likely biggest beneficiary if Austin Eckler is indeed limited in the passing game or if he's out at all. Justin Jackson, 2K, a good play overall, right? Lots of ways he gets there. Even if he's in a normal role, he can catch a couple passes, maybe score a touchdown, get the optimal. If Eckler's limited, his stock skyrockets. So I think he's a great play tonight in high-risk contests because the variety of ways he can score some points. Demarcus Robinson, going to see an uptick in snaps tonight without Josh Gordon. And he's playing with Mahomes. So easily can get there as well. Derek Gore, probably not tonight. Only got there last week because it was a blowout situation. He was getting garbage time carries. But Joshua Kelly should see some more work tonight with Eckler banged up. Steven Anderson, see snaps as the 3rd tight end. Noah Gray and Blake Bell are going to play 20-30% of the snaps, maybe. Catch a touchdown, perhaps, around the goal line. Marcus Kemp, rotational snaps, not as much as these other guys, but he'll see a couple snaps tonight with Gordon out. And then Trey McKitty. May have never heard this guy's name before, but has been playing 20, 30, 40% of the snaps lately. Could see some targets tonight too. So lots of guys in this range. Just want to make sure there's no more. Larry Roundtree, I guess, too, if Eckler is indeed out, or we get word that he's very limited. So tons of guys, unlike that Cardinal slate on Monday, which means easy pivots away from the very popular Byron Pringle. If you use Pringle, just understand that he'll be popular down there. But the variety of players in this range allows us to pay up for all these studs at captain. If you remember on Monday, and again, this is how you think about it from slate to slate. If you remember on Monday on DraftKings, we saw a lot of mid-range captains. We saw Rondale Moore, a lot of captains, because it was really hard to fit in those guys at the top. Here, it's actually pretty easy. So you can play Mahomes, Hill, Herbert, Allen, Kelce, Williams at captain pretty liberally because you have all those guys at the bottom of the range to help you out. So it's a very interesting slate, but a lot of different ways you can play it, and obviously the Eckler news certainly impacts it. Now, FanDuel, we expect Mahomes, generally when he's on a slate, we see 50% plus MVP. We actually see less than that tonight because of Herbert, because of Tyree, because of Kelce, because of Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, maybe Eckler, right? Just a couple percent that pulls away gets him below his usual threshold, which means we could probably hammer in Patrick Mahomes tonight. If you get a chance to go all in on Patrick Mahomes at MVP at reduced MVP ownership, those are generally the slates that you want to do it. And with all those value options that we mentioned, right? If we scroll down, so if you play Mahomes at MVP, you want to pair him with 2 of his pass catchers at least. So obviously one of Tyreek or Kelce probably, right? But then if you start scrolling here, right? You got Mecole Hardman, you got Byron Pringle, you got Demarcus Robinson, you got the backup tight ends, a lot of different scrub players or trashier players that you can play with him to save salary, reduce ownership, increase upside with Mahomes at MVP. Just want to look here one more thing. Yeah, the funny thing here is Justin Jackson. Remember, he's 2K on DraftKings. He's actually 10K on FanDuel. So not sure what's up with that pricing. So the last point I'll make, we've talked about in the past this underdog approach from a high level in showdown contests. And this is another slate tonight. The Chargers are 3-point underdogs. Most lineups that the field will create tonight, primarily because a lot of the values are on the Chiefs side, But most of the lineups tonight will be Chiefs heavy. So 4 Chiefs in the lineup, maybe 5 Chiefs, probably not that many. But Chiefs captains, 3 Chiefs stacks, right? A Chief captain plus 2 Chiefs flex players. So if you want to get different in high risk contests from a macro approach, you can play at least 3 Chargers in all of your lineups. And that automatically gets you different from the field. And it's not even that crazy of a game to do it in because the Chargers have so many weapons. Plus, they even have some of their rotational players as well that can compete with the Chiefs guys. So, lots to think about for this slate. Very interesting strategies to implement for high-risk contests. Low-risk contests, again, a no-go tonight. But be sure to monitor news throughout the day, right? Austin Eckler news, we want some kind of reports. If not, we're going to have to assume that he's going to be limited in some capacity. And then keep an eye out for any more COVID additions on either side of this game because both teams have already been hit. So that'll do it for this video. If you like what you saw, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get notified when we go live, upload any new videos, get yourself entered into our 3K subscriber giveaway. More details on that soon. Give us a thumbs up if you like the Showdown content and want to see more. Any questions, just comment below on the video or hop in our Discord server, chat with other members of the OccupyFantasy.com community. And our daily plug will be out by 3 p.m. Eastern at the latest, which gives rankings for all contest types, lineup construction tips for all contest types. It goes much more in-depth than we go in this video. Make sure you check it out. Links in the description. Occupy model is updated with projected ownership and rankings. And our lineup builder is already up and running. You can build up to 150 lineups using optimal Showdown lineup criteria. So I'm Brian Jester for Occupy Fantasy. We appreciate you listening as always. Good luck tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.